Put that shit on lock. Lock it down, motherfuckers. What the hell just happened? Oh, shit, the wrong thing. Dick trails? What? Did you say dick trails? Not bad. I'm getting bored, man. That's my issue. Is I'm getting bored. That's my deal. No, it's good. It's just like, you know, it's just fucking holy shit, man. They don't got enough for me to do. So I gotta find shit.
Dog trails. Dog trails. Dog trails. And yes, we are live.
You are gonna thank me for something, baby.
You.
Yep.
Dog trails.
Dog trails.
So,
Hello there.
hello.
Hello, sir. How's it going?
It's going well.
Corporate gangsta.
Hey, Brucey.
What's up?
Where is our journey taking us today?
I think our journey takes us to the promised land. The age-old question. The thing that has bothered us from days on from the creation.
What's
What does America mean to you? Yeah,
America.
I've been thinking about this. Like, you know, we come around, like, there's like all kinds of political debate. You want to go left, you want to go right, whatever. But like, everyone always seems to have some sort of an issue, or seems to wonder, like, what does it mean to be an American? What is it? How do you interpret it? What do you think the U.S. stands for? What do you think that people stand for? Right? There's a lot of debate on, like, the Constitution and the amendments. You know, what does religious freedom mean? There's a lot of arguments about how, you know, people's religion is being attacked, and other such, and like that we shouldn't. And I even hear conversations about, get this, that we're a Christian country. And that blows my mind, right? Because, like, in the whole idea, the very first thing, the major deal that they had with making the Constitution and making the amendments was that, and part of the reason why people even came over in the first place, before the country was a thing, was to escape religious persecution, right? That was like that was maybe not the only overriding deal, but like it was a major deal for a lot of people. Was to just get away. It was like, dude, we're getting persecuted left, right, and center. We're getting the hell out. We're going to have our own religion. We're going to be free. And that's why the First Amendment, freedom of religion, right? And I think a lot of people forget that. So I got to wonder, like, how much do people really think about what does the Constitution really stand for? What does America stand for? Maybe even past the whole Constitution. I think the Constitution puts it down into words and into a document and something that will live on past the date it was written.
Yeah, but
right?
And I think it's hard. It's not hard. It can be a hard sell trying to define. Well, if we start bringing the Constitution into the equation, because a lot of people would argue it doesn't apply to society nowadays. Because hear me out when I say that. When I say it doesn't apply, well, you know what? There's, in this Constitution, I think they were counting slaves and black people, to a certain, I think we were only like considered a third of a person or something at the time. But basically, I'm saying the laws and the way things were worded back then, unfortunately, is not interpreted in a fashion where it is consistent with the way people in today's society live.
Sure. However, I would technically, to some degree, disagree with that.
Okay. Why?
And the idea that the amendment, the Constitution itself, can be amended to update itself.
That's what we need to do.
Well, no, it's been going for quite a while. Like there are several amendments that came far later than the original writing. The amendment to give your freedom, the amendment for giving women the right to vote,
and when he said "your," he meant black people. He pointed at me because he didn't want to say black.
I'm Asian. I got that same. I probably got somewhat the same deal. If you didn't own land, if you weren't white,
look,
right?
If anyone wasn't white at the time, you were in a shitload of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, you make a good point. But I'm saying I think there's even core stuff, and I listen to a lot. Well, I don't as much, so I'm calling myself out. But I used to listen to a lot of talk radio, and where they would have these topics of how society, in terms of even business to judges making decisions.
Yeah.
And the way it interprets the Constitution, like say if you say freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
Yes, people should be able to say wherever the hell they want.
Sure.
But But I forgot the specific argument and why I was.
There are limitations to that freedom of speech.
Exactly, but there's nothing really in the Constitution that says that.
No, there technically isn't. However, there has been rulings that.
This is why I said I'm always finicky with gray area, because especially when it comes to laws, it's you either have to have it good or bad, because if you leave it gray, then that interpretation can, people would, you see how good lawyers are, they can use, that's what they want. You leave any gray area, they'll take something that's right and try to formalize it in a way to make it bad or vice versa. So, anyways, but back to what you're saying. They can
argue the point, however, it's ultimately up to the judge to make a ruling on how that is ruled. And eventually that's where you get all the judgments from Supreme, going up through like the appellate courts and the Supreme Courts, and then ultimately to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay.
Right? And that's where you get like freedom of speech. I mean, the most famous one that I can remember personally, obviously it comes from movies, People versus Larry Flint. Guy was a smutmonger. That is totally a description of him. He has said he is a smutmonger. He sells sex. That's what he does. He sells pornography, right? But he should be allowed to do that. And he got into a whole lot of trouble with Jerry Falwell. And eventually that case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they decided, look, it's satire. He's totally allowed to do that. It is beyond a reasonable doubt that Jerry Falwell, this upstanding person in religion, would never be doing what he said he did in that quote-unquote ad for Campari, right? And it was a complete satire. It was protected under the freedom of speech. Now, obviously, there are certain limitations to it, and the most obvious ones that I've heard have been the limitation of you can't yell fire in a theater. If you're you can't incite danger or incite violence in people when you make speech. Hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment, right? You can't say really nasty things that will incite people to hurt other people, right? You can't call out, "Hey, I was just talking that I was going to blow your brains out next Tuesday." Like, I was just talking. Like, you can't fucking say that. That's a threat. That's not protected. You are threatening somebody. You're going up on charges. And then it's up to judges and everybody else to figure out what the hell is going on. Right? That type of speech is not protected. But the freedom to say the things that you think, the freedom to say that one thing or another, if you believe that there is a genetic predisposition towards me liking Chinese spare ribs, for instance, Call it to Bruce Lee.
Do you like Chinese Sparrows? By the
Chinese
way?
Sparrow is pretty good, but
Pretty good.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
fine.
you can't deny.
No,
I like duck personally, but like that's just me.
I like
Like duck. Hey man, you had Peking duck, man.
So,
Hey, come on.
So hoity-toity.
Oh, what the hell ever, dude.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mr.
go ahead.
Royalty. Go ahead, Bruce.
As I was saying. No, like you can voice your opinion as long as it's not something that you're inciting hate speech or violence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be careful with what you say, because I mean, you can say a whole bunch of crap, people can disprove you. There are plenty of instances where a lot of things that people say are disproved, and
I mean, even if they're saying facts, people will try to
will try to, but that's.
But see, they can easily do it if no one's aware. If you talk about something, this is what's interesting about America.
Right.
Someone can be out there. Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No way.
Someone can be out there. He's drinking some tea I made, by the way. And
I was not spitting out anything else. Trust me.
There you go.
Hey, that's up to you, man. That's freedom of speech right there, baby.
You know what it is. And then my reaction was, I interpreted it a certain way.
That's right.
I'm just a gross dude. I don't care.
you
I got
are.
dark humor. Anyways, so broke my concentration. Goddamn.
Hey, baby. What's up?
Okay, where was I going with this?
I have no idea, but we're talking about like the way that you want to interpret things.
Right. I guess I was saying the way things are interpreted in America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking from because that's where we live. I can't speak on other countries. Someone could be telling the truth, and if people are not aware of that truth or have no knowledge of that truth, then that person can easily be, like you're saying, ridiculed or basically cast stones at the person or just look at them in disbelief because you have never, or because the people have not heard that information before.
Sure.
So I'm only pointing that out because once we start getting a little bit more hardcore talking about America,
yeah.
I think more and more we contradict ourselves. And I'm saying it based off of what you're stating, by us not knowing who we are or what we represent as Americans.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that kind of goes to the core. Now, the one thing that I would say that I think that we need to lay down would be a couple of ground rules on this understanding, right? In that we would have to, in order to ask this question or at least have an understanding, we have to start out with a fully open mind. We can be proven wrong. There are facts that we need to be able to agree upon, and that once those facts are agreed upon, we can't go back on, right? Unless it's fully disproven by other facts, like research and other such. I think that's the problem that people have right now. And I was watching a thing on David Letterman on Netflix, and he was interviewing Barack Obama after his presidency. And one of the things that he said was, which was interesting, is that we get all our facts from various different sources. And these facts don't always match up. And a lot of times, these facts aren't fact-checked. And there's part of the fundamental problem that we have in trying to define who we are and what we stand for and the things that we believe is we don't have a set basis for facts that we can agree upon. Right? So we have a bunch of facts that come out from various different things. Those facts contradict each other. Those quote-unquote facts contradict each other.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And because we can't agree upon those facts, we can't move the argument forward. Right?
I agree with that.
So I think that, the one thing that I think we need to start out with is being able to say, we agree upon these facts, let's move forward.
Okay, Brucey.
You know what I'm saying?
What is America to you? First start with that.
Let's start with that. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
help me and our listeners understand.
To me, and not everyone's gonna agree with me. But America to me is a country that speaks to being the melting pot, to having freedoms to look for and gain opportunity to better oneself in life, better oneself and one's progeny in life. That is something that I think I truly believe. Now, there are caveats to everything that we do, right? In that my pursuit of opportunity, my pursuit of a better life, does not directly harm anybody else. And I try my best not to directly harm anybody else, even to some degree, indirectly harm anybody else.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I think the major problem that I have is that people throw a bunch of rights around, and, in the vacuum of space and vacuum of individuals, you'll have your rights. Once your rights infringe upon another person's rights, right, you have to be mindful of said other person. Your rights do not override their rights.
Right.
Ha ha ha. Okay. Nah. So for me, America is just that, a land of opportunity, a big melting pot, and a place where you can practice and do the things that you want to do, and search for opportunity to further and better yourself and those around you, as long as it doesn't hurt or harm anybody else around you.
So is it safe to say that if people are not practicing these ideals that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not American or not American-like?
I think we try and define America in such a way to suit ourselves a lot of times. I think a lot of people try and do that. In that they want to define America in such a way that their rights or their belief of what it is overrides anybody else's beliefs in what it is.
Yeah, I can see that. Can I give you an example?
Sure.
So, when you were giving your definition, it's almost like you were trying to give me a cooking recipe. Then you melt it all together.
That's right.
So, when you said melting pot and you were speaking about the values of, let's get straight to the point. So, I remember reading, a couple different articles. One was actually from, I think she was a social worker / professor. And I've also seen it over the years, maybe posted on some popular websites. And it's usually one of those occasional articles I don't think people really take to mind. This one stated that here in the Northern California region, a lot of these big tech companies,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of recruiters finally came out and stated that of how, in this notice I said left the general,
Mm-hmm.
how these companies have been very, they were only hiring a certain demographic.
Okay.
And to the point, if America's a melting pot, and if you have people making decisions,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're getting very. I'm not going to use any. I can use a bunch of words. I can say racism, gender. Was it gender bias?
Gender bias. Yep.
Religion, whatever. Right? Because once you start, if you're only, it can be any one of those or a combination of. Once you start only hiring certain genders or certain races. And like you said, I'm just kind of bringing it back to what you were mentioning about that's not what America is supposed to be about.
Sure.
If you're supposed to be giving everyone an opportunity, then do so. But then don't make up these rules where now you're actually affecting people and not giving people an opportunity, right?
Right.
They're not giving people an opportunity. They may not see it that way. In their mind, they're like, hey, we're just trying to find that right one, quotation marks. So, but going back.
Did they ever actually define what the parameters of their search were?
And guess what? They don't have to because they make the rules.
But a private business is one thing. Society is a different thing.
Well, if you establish it in society, it influences those in businesses and in the community to, yes, not everyone's going to do it, but it at least increases, even if it's a small increase, at least increases the possibility of people now being open to applying or living by those ideals.
Okay.
That's a long Okay. What went through your mind right then? Were you thinking about like dogs running in the park, you throwing a frisbee and them catching it and bringing it back to you?
No, it's mostly just a blackout. But like, so they make those rules out to. They make those rules in order to hire people, and they don't have the. They don't necessarily have the. They don't actually set out any parameters per se about what they do. Now they may be biased in some form or fashion. The question becomes, what are those biases, and are you able to define them without actually seeing a fully realized document? I think that there are issues that we do still struggle with. I think there are inherent biases still within society that you have to combat to some degree with a level of proactivity, right? We were talking about it just a bit ago, how society, back earlier on was very whitewashed.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean whitewashed?
It was very racist, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't even have to go back that far. The '60s were still very racist. Mm-hmm.
So and then basically, I'm just helping the listeners understand where it's more Caucasian mainstream,
right?
Society culture,
if
type ideals,
right? And to some degree, that it's still pervasive today, and people are viewed upon as certain things. Even the speech by the big guy up at the big White House up in the across the country, talks about those people south of the border, Mexicans, being criminals and rapists and murderers.
Right.
All of the Mexicans that I know are super hardworking,
right?
Living their life, trying to do the best that they can,
right?
And I've known a fair chunk of them, and I've known a couple of criminals,
right?
Like it spans all types. Those criminals, born here. There are plenty of people that have done all kinds of different things.
And to say, and it's interesting you say that, because I remember people up in uproar. Oh, they're taking your jobs, and
I love that one. That one's a funny one.
No, it is a funny one, and it's to the point where I have to laugh, because I'm like, well, I have to be honest. I saw a lot of you guys didn't even really want to take the job, so it's like now because someone sees an opportunity and takes it.
Yep.
And you didn't want to do it. Now you're mad. You didn't want to do the job in the first place.
There's a flip side argument to that. There's a flip side argument to that, though, right? And that you didn't want to take that job, but they are taking our jobs. But you have to argue, why aren't we doing those jobs to begin with, right? There's a desire to that.
No, it's a desire, but then it goes back to what we talk about. Well, it wouldn't be American if we did it. Because, and I'm saying that funny, but it's true. It even got to that point because you can say the wage wasn't to the liking of most people, right? For the type of work that needed to be done. So, and then this is where anyone from, anyone period, I'm not going to say just Mexico, if they come from a country where, the money, the money that they were offering for the jobs that they were, we had up here, I guess, that they're taking, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, they're making way more money up here, so they're like, we'll take that shit.
Scale of economy, right? Like, it's a land of prosperity
exactly.
up here,
okay,
and they're making far more.
Right.
They're just going for what the economic gain, right?
So you can't knock that, but I do understand.
I mean, let's face it. Like they're gonna. All right, let's take it back to what it is nowadays, right? Labor costs here in the United States. Let's say they're working for whatever the minimum wage is down in like Salinas or whatever, something like $12 or $15 per hour.
I think it's lower than that, my friend.
Potentially,
but that's the point too. It's like, anyways, I'm bouncing. I'm trying to bounce off your point, but basically, you're starting there. You're starting there to the point of saying, hey, and this is the problem when we do with capitalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're only gonna put so much value into this, in what you're doing, and these happen to be this sector or these type of jobs,
right?
And because it was they kept increasing, they kept demanding, but they're not paying people, what people prefer. So that's why I think the community and society here was like, I'm not doing that. And then, and this is where it comes into, if they really think of it, what being the land of opportunity. Okay, you don't want to do it. Okay, there's someone else who will do it.
Right.
So it's kind of like a catch-22 because it's like, just like I state, you have those making the rules. It's like a cause and effect.
Yeah.
You charge cheap. People don't want to do it. They get in the uproar. F you, and then they bring somebody else, and it's like they're in the uproar again. Hey, you took those, and we would have done it, but you didn't want to pay us enough. And then the company's like,
we found somebody that was able to do it.
Exactly. We're being American.
I mean, there is.
I'm not saying that's what they're thinking, but
you want to be able to control that type of situation, because at some point in time you start to supplant your population with something else, and there becomes what we have now: a gigantic wage gap between top earners versus everybody else, and that gap is just widening. It's just growing out of control.
Yeah,
and I love this bit. Like, people don't believe that. There's a lot of people that don't believe that, or that people think that that those people are stealing their jobs, and to kick them all out, fine, kick them all out. Then you better be able to fill those other jobs,
right?
Or you have to make sure that those at the top end are kicking back enough downstairs, down at the bottom, to be able to pay for a living everywhere else. It used to be 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, 70s, sure. You could go back that far. You could have, it was a single family home, single family wage. One person went to work, someone stayed home, watched the kids, grew them, they got an education. And there was a push to make sure that infrastructure was still set in place, right?
Mm-hmm. Be careful where you're going with this, Bruce, because you have a lot of people listening, going, "Hey, where is he going with this? Talking about that?" Because now women might be mad. Like, what do you mean? I got to go back home and take care of the kids and stay my ass at home? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Is that what you're saying, Brucey?
No, not.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
What I'm saying is that it used to be that we didn't have to work 2 jobs just to stay afloat.
That's true.
What I'm saying is that we didn't have to have 2 jobs, send our kids to daycare, and pretty much come back home to cook food and fall the fuck to sleep and go back to fucking work every single day. It's a vicious cycle,
yeah.
right? And it's not even to just stay afloat. There's a lot of people out there that are doing all of that,
yeah,
and sinking,
yeah.
right? What I'm saying is, what are you planning on doing with your life in that regard, right? It's a matter of what you want out of this life, and I think that part of what we want out of this life is opportunity, and that's what I think America stands for, is that idea of opportunity to come here and get a better life. And right now, that ain't happening, and people are fighting against people getting that better opportunity.
Give me an example.
Best example I can think of is the higher tax rate. Right? Now, they want a lot of the ideas that I think the Democrats push is this higher tax rate on top earners. And when you say higher taxes, everyone freaks the fuck out.
Right.
Right? But you take a look at like the scale of things, like I want people to be taxed, start a higher tax rate starting at, like, throw a number out there, $200,000. If you're making $200,000 a year, you need to start paying more taxes because you're making a ton of money, right? And everyone goes like, wait a minute, we don't want to raise our taxes. That's horrible, right? Why would you want to do that? All right, we shouldn't be raising taxes at all. Like, well then, all right, the government needs to run on something, right? Mm-hmm. There needs to be social programs that need to be to run for those less fortunate, or just basic services.
I know I'm saying
infrastructure.
And I was gonna say and ran properly, because
right.
that's a
whole nother story.
Topic. But anyways,
but the opportunity is the people push against raising those taxes. But let's face it, do those people that are actually those people that are pushing against raising those taxes or doing whatever, are they even up to that level yet? Is it even going to affect them?
That's true.
The estate, like I've dealt with this a little bit. The death estate tax right now. Mm-hmm. It used to be, if your estate was $5 million total, then at the $5,001 mark, that $1 would be taxed. Everything below the $5 million mark, tax free, can transfer to whoever you want. That was the deal. Mm-hmm. You raised it. They raised it up in the past while to 11 million. How many people in the United States do you think have an estate worth $11 million?
I don't want to guess, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
What percentage of people have that high of an estate? Now, I'll admit, $1 million nowadays, kind of chump change. General populace can have a middle class an estate worth $1 million. Why? Housing and everything else.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
That's true. I was thinking more like what do you call it? Liquid assets or something like that.
Oh no, I'm talking about everything.
Yeah, okay.
Everything you own.
I'd say, man, you're probably only looking at 4 or 5%
that own 11 million or more.
Estate.
And a full estate.
When they pass.
Yep.
That's my guess.
That I'd be right there with you. I even think that's technically at 11 million. It's probably slightly smaller.
Yeah.
Because you look at the depreciation of, so like, we're in California. We're in the land of plenty right now. Uh-huh. Especially in Northern California, where, let's face it, housing is stupid. Like,
stupid high.
It's not just stupid. It's awesomely stupid. Like, it's freaking dumb. And I use that, weirdly enough, lightly. But like, even here, like, estates can go, like, houses can go for a couple million at the drop of a hat.
And that's not a good looking house.
And that's
your average,
a completely average house in the Bay Area.
Just below average house.
Right. But you take a look at a house in, say, Kansas or Utah or Michigan.
Jeez.
Even let's take it back a notch. The differences in housing between Northern California and Seattle, Portland, Oregon, places are still pretty nice, right? Mm-hmm. You can buy like a couple bedrooms and a couple bathrooms in a place like this, where you're buying an acre in Seattle and Oregon, where it's, very, very nice, very, very nice, right? Mm-hmm. But you're getting a ton of land on top of it.
Yeah, you out there in the wilderness.
Yeah, not even in the wilderness. I'm talking about in the suburbs and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So like, the difference in the scale is pretty far off. But like those people that have estates that of 11 million and up, how many people do you think those really are? Not many. So 2 or 3%.
So you're reinforcing that those at the top are controlling and putting in laws that only benefit them. Is that what you're?
Especially now. Okay. It's been going for a while, and people haven't noticed it to a major degree.
But isn't that American? That's what we've been doing for years. But
there needs to be a balance. So one thing that I don't think people understand about society and life and everything else, this is my personal standpoint, is that there needs to be a balance. You need to have one versus the other. So for instance, you take business. You want to scale this completely in a capitalist society. Mm-hmm. If you have all the top earners have all the money and all the low end people, all the middle class and lower class have pretty much none of the money, right? Where does the economy stand? There's only so much that a top earner can spend within their lifetime. There's only so much luxury that you will spend.
I disagree with you. I can find a whole bunch more things to buy with all my money.
You can. But let's say we give you $50 million annually.
That's fine.
Every year.
Cool. Islands. I'll buy hotels and resorts. Hell, I'll buy my own country if I can. I think big. All right, but you see, I see where you're going.
You see what I'm going with it. There's only so much you can buy, and then you got to fill it. How much time are you actually going to spend there?
That's true, because you're usually so busy doing things, not able to. But see, that's.
But then, okay, so now you have all this money, right? And all these people on the top end have all this money. What drives the economy? You?
Yeah.
So you're the only one, and what happens to all those other people?
Not my problem. I control everything. It's like, look,
You're one of the few that control everything.
Well, okay, I lay down rules. Maybe I get to influence rules. I get to put people in charge to carry out my rules.
Okay, sure.
And I'm.
It's an upside down pyramid, but
I'm paying those people to handle business.
You're paying them, let's say, minimum wage to do it.
Well,
because they want to be able to survive. But
okay, are they enforcing my laws, or are they cleaning up my offices? What
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
To me, it doesn't matter.
Well, I can't pay. Well, I could.
So then, now society doesn't become a democracy anymore.
Well,
it becomes an oligarchy. You control everything because of the money that you have.
Well,
the top percent becomes the controlling factor, and everybody else doesn't matter.
Well,
is that a fair society to you? Is that what America was built on?
It's what America is.
I think that's what America has been going towards for a very long time.
And that's what I'm saying.
And it's reaching a peak.
Oh, it's reaching a peak. There's signs there but I'm saying it's already here, and people.
Sure.
Based off what you're talking about in terms of the ideals, we're getting away from.
We're getting away from those ideals.
So
what
we're seeing
we come back to.
So yeah,
we come back to. What does America mean to you, the common man, the person that doesn't have everything in the world? What does it mean to you? Mm-hmm. And why are you fighting so hard to keep those people in power when you don't have any?
Well, you just answered it. He works for them, or he or she works for them. They're carrying out.
What happens when they don't?
Carry out what they want?
Yeah.
Look, You already know. You've seen a lot of movies, conspiracy theory. You know, you're gone. You don't do what I say, I'm taking out your whole family. Brucey, be honest.
And I get those guys. Why are you carrying out his orders?
Well, because one, I need the money.
How? Oh, really? And he's just giving it to you to survive. And how much more would you want?
You know what? I don't give a shit about anybody else. I just want to do me. That's what people. that's
I just want to do me.
That's how a lot of people think.
That's fantastic.
So that's.
But if you're working every single day, how are you doing you?
Well, because I'm working every day. Oh, when my time off of work.
What time off of work?
Exactly, the little time I get.
Oh.
Or
maybe the person that's paying you your wage doesn't let you because they need protection 24/7.
That's true too. And
because they are afraid of the masses.
Of course.
You know where this leads to eventually? French Revolution.
Oh, I was about to say, I was like, anarchy? Yeah.
Eventually.
Potentially. Well, no.
It becomes class warfare, and it becomes a situation where...
It could be. It definitely could become there. But see, what you're talking about, you're already assuming a lot of people are going to get fed up and be in an uproar. But I don't even see
the only thing that protects the top end from anywhere on the lower end is the military and military might, to a fair degree.
And who do you think protects them?
Sure. What happens when the military turns?
Oh, now you're going into some movie stuff. If
you get the military to split between one faction versus another, where does it go from there?
Oh yeah, now you got warfare or
now you have internal turmoil.
Yeah,
now you have potentially civil war.
Yeah. So you think it'll get there? You think it could get there?
I think that there are possibilities of it getting there if it carries on further.
What's further? How many? What do you mean by further? Like next month? What are you talking about? I need to know.
I don't think there's a time frame.
I mean, look.
Technically, you could have it start tomorrow. You get enough people that go, this is some bullshit. Some people in the military hierarchy go, this is some bullshit. This guy's an idiot, and nobody else is doing anything. And the people that we're sitting on, the people that we're protecting, the people that we're taking orders from, are jackasses, and they're fucking over not only everybody else, but they're starting to disrespect me.
Hey,
if they start disrespecting the military, where does that end?
Look,
you get those that do the orders, and those that dissent against said orders because they're the wrong orders. Right? It comes down to the old Bushido question, right? Is it better to serve a bad master, or do you, for the betterment, do you rebel against him? Which is more honorable?
That's a good point. But is it something people are ready for? But then
I think it's building. Politically, I think it's building.
No, and you know what? You're starting conversations by asking, what is being American to you?
What does it mean to be American?
Yeah, because I you know what? I remember earlier. I'll just bring it up now. Where we were discussing, at least during our youth growing up, it appeared to be in the school system, especially at a young age, they emphasized what it was to be American by how hardcore you had to remember the Pledge of Allegiance. Seriously, you had to stand up, had to put your hand over your heart, look at the flag that's been sitting in that collecting dust, and I'm not making fun, but I'm making fun, but but the point is, they ingrained in the youth or generations during that time that was important. This is what America's supposed to be.
Yes.
And then over time, that kind of, the more diverse America became, the more people didn't want to be forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'm not disagreeing with, but I'm just saying the idea of people understanding what it's like to be, or what America's about.
I think the thing that I take a different stance on this, especially from my youth, growing up here. I wasn't born here. I was originally a green card holder. I took the path to naturalization, to some degree through requirement, to some degree through, and I actually asked this question to myself at that particular point in time. They were having people re-register their green cards, and I was like, why am I re-registering my green card?
Mm-hmm.
Am I really going to go back home, quote unquote, home to my home country? Like, what is my home country? And I was like, I grew up here. I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in the United States. This is my home country.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of sympathy for especially those dreamers right now. Those that were brought over as a child, not knowing anything more, and growing up here, not knowing anything other than American society, because that essentially was me. My family did it legally. You know, we had our green cards, we had a permanent residency, but you know, we were in the same boat. That was the exact same experience I had, other than the illegality of our paperwork, right? Mine wasn't. Theirs are. That's the only difference. Is a legal standpoint. So when I was growing up, the Pledge of Allegiance was there. We recited it in school. We recited it in class. I didn't have to, because I wasn't a citizen. But this was the society I grew up in. This was the place that I called home. And that colors the way that I think about it, because I take those words and I take those thoughts and I take the ideals that were shown to me as a child and as I grew up more to heart, because I'm not originally from here. You can't hear it in my voice. You can't hear it in any accent that I have. I don't really have an accent. I have a Californian accent. I can make up other accents as well. But like, when I speak normally, I don't have a Chinese accent. I speak Californian. That's who I am. And in that regard, right, it is it colors the way that I think and perceive of myself in this society. And growing up with the people and friends that I've had around me, you know, it makes me think about, you know, what does it mean? What do my rights mean to me? As an immigrant, as somebody of a different, not necessarily a darker color, but of a different race, right? I have not been persecuted nearly as much as people with darker skin, right? And I'm talking black, brown, whatever. Right. You know, I'm yellow. I'm like an offshoot of white. All they want is their Chinese food and I'm going super racist on this. Like they want their laundry done and they want their Chinese food. Well, that's what they want, right? Well, you know, God damn it, I hate those slope eyes, but God damn it, I like their food. Like, you know, we kind of got a pass on that to some degree. Now, obviously, in other places, that's not true, and I'm making super light of it. But like, I don't think we got it as hard as other places have, and other races have. Especially nowadays, I think people of color are still persecuted to a huge degree. I think people of the Muslim religion are persecuted vastly to some degree because of their association with a perceived evil religion. You know, their association with a perceived terrorist sects and zealots of a particular religion.
And it's, you know, what's interesting when you start mentioning that, and I think people react or believe they only know a certain viewpoint about Muslim religion is because of what they're fed, in terms of what they see in the news, what they hear word of mouth. And it's unfortunate because people make those biased thoughts based off of other biased thoughts, not knowing, like you mentioned earlier, about doing fact checks, understanding, looking up, researching, and trying to understand. Because, I do recall when we did have, say, like 9/11 and all these bombings, right there on the news screen, in the newspaper or whatever, it was blasting the Muslim, any Muslim,
absolutely.
anything. And you know what that does to people in society. It puts a negative perspective or connotation on them, which is unfortunate, right? Because it's like we're all humans, and we do react off emotionally, unfortunately.
Sure.
Sometimes more than what we should. But just bringing it back to what you said, it's that's where I and myself as a minority, where if you were to ask me that same question, I can probably define everything what you just stated what America should be, and then you ask me from a minority perspective, right, of what America is, and it would be a little bit more slightly skewed to the negative perspective of everything that we're saying that contradicts America, how America doesn't give as much opportunity. Like, I hear we're getting better, but it's almost the type of better where we're reacting off of emotion. I'm talking about where, because people have had enough, now it's just people going me,
Mm-hmm.
not understanding that, okay, let's take a step back. You're right. It is you. It is about improving you and people like you. But now let's do it in a way where we're not practicing the same bad fundamentals, which even got us to this point. If that makes
Absolutely.
sense. So if I start saying, hey, I want to hire more Chinese people, right? Because I have Brucey here. I only want Chinese people from now on because I have Brucey here. Well, yes, I'm increasing the ratio or minority or whatever, but now I'm also now not giving other people opportunity because I want to make you happy. Not you, Brucey, but I'm just saying, I'm just using that
certain specific sect.
I'm just
people.
using exactly, and I say, if we're gonna do it right, let's just do it right the first time instead of going, you know what, well, let's get more of this one race in here, because then that's where we start.
I think in those
iffy.
perspectives, right? In those perspectives, we don't want to be able to. We don't want to have to judge based upon those particular parameters.
I mean, we don't, but we have to set some fundamentals. This is going back to being American. What fundamentals do we set, keeping with the ideals of being American in here in America,
Mm-hmm.
without letting biases, prejudices, and a lot of the unfortunate capitalistic ideals influence or affect people in society.
I think in that we need to be go back to the ideals that we originally started from back in the day, when this country was founded, and that it is a place to join together to be able to release our prejudices.
Okay.
And do away with them to a fair degree and accept those that are different from us and come together as a community of different people.
So how do we do that? What do you propose?
What do I propose? And there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think the one thing is to be fully accepting to those of a different culture. The United States, they keep using the terminology. It's a melting pot. I gotta wonder if people actually even remember that we're a melting pot. What does that mean? It means that we take all these various different aspects, like spice, in a pot or in this country, and put them together to create something beautiful, to create something wonderful. And
how do we get there? What are you proposing? I hear the great speech. You know what? Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, but no,
what I want is everybody clapping. That's goddamn it. That's what the hell I want, and I'm done.
You're such a man. You're such an egotistical man.
So, it's embracing each other's differences, being open-minded to a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, each and every day. Every time you look at somebody else, like, you know, they have different ideas, they have a different look to them, and you have to do that on some type of a merit system of, is their idea good, regardless of who they are, and regardless of necessarily where it comes from. Does the idea itself have merit? Or, you know, we can do it in a fashion of cooking. In terms of cooking, right? We can couch this in terms of cuisine. You know, what is American cuisine nowadays? You know, I talk a lot about I've talked to friends of mine before. What is American cuisine? What do you eat as quote unquote American? What is truly American? Because a lot of cuisine we have is couched in other cultures. You know, Chinese didn't make chow mein originally. What did we make chow mein from? The goddamn leftovers we had, and we put it all together and said, this is what we're eating for lunch while we're building the goddamn railroads. Let's fucking eat. That's what chow mein was.
Hey, chow mein is good too, though.
But see, you enjoy it.
I'm just saying. Hey, that's how a lot of.
So if you are racist, if you are racist against other cultures, you're not allowed to eat those kinds of fucking foods. You're not allowed to appropriate other cultures in your
There's
society.
a lot of people. That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, fantastic. So you hate Italians. You can't eat eat pastas and pizza.
Nope, I don't care.
Don't like Chinese people. You can't eat Chinese food.
That's fine.
No sushi. No Japanese food. No like. That's Korean food.
It's okay.
Okay.
You know what they call me?
Yeah.
Vegan.
Really?
I'm joking. I know I'm having
a bunch
of vegans who hate
so
me
you cook boiled potatoes. Oh wait, Irish.
Look.
Boiled cabbage. Look. Irish. Corned beef. Irish.
No. See, look.
It comes from a different country.
Look, so now you're telling me the foods I eat represents the culture and.
I'm just using it as a basis to get people to understand.
Who's with cucumbers? Okay, who's with cucumbers? Cucumbers and mushrooms.
Cucumbers and mushrooms.
Cucumbers and mushrooms and onions.
Depends
and
on how you cook it. So do you eat it just raw?
You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just stating like you're getting. Why are we talking about food in America? Well, I do get that.
Yeah.
I was being funny with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so are you proposing people individually?
It has to be individually.
Because I was gonna say, are you proposing individually, or are you saying, hey, we're gonna put something out, you know, a merit system out in society and give motherfuckers stickers or give them food, coupons or something. Like I don't know. What are you proposing?
My proposal is just that to a lot of the problems that we have is a closed mindset. Okay. Right? It's not about specific policy. If we have to set our policy based upon an open mindset of inclusion. Right? Because that's what any society is. That's what any community is. Otherwise, you specialize to such a degree that you become stagnant and stale. That's all. Like if all you do is have white people, right, and close that off. Even Chinese people close themselves off to some degree and stay within their communities and like they're outsiders. We don't like that. Like we've all done it in some form or fashion. But when we start to integrate, we get new and different and wonderful things, right? When we start to become inclusive with the rest of the society, we become not just a separate set of different communities. We become one whole community and society that mixes and intermingles and has different ideas that brings something to the table, right? And in a different perspective that can create something better. So the one thing that I understand what you want to say is that, like, you know, you want to do things the right way the first time. That's great. That's the perfect ideal that we want to go towards. However, people make mistakes. Not everything is done perfectly the first time, and you have to be able to adjust to make it better. That's why there's so many different things. When you make something, anything, there are revisions to it. Improved technology, improved design, improved versions of whatever you're making to improve the quality of the product that you're creating, right? Whether it be society, whether it be machines, whether it be software or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. There's always a new revision coming out.
But
it's still couched in the original idea sets that were proposed.
Which reason why when we earlier spoke of the Constitution, I think it's time for some revisions. But then going back to what you were talking about with people and mistakes, yes, I totally agree. You're not going to always get it the first time. Mm-hmm. But you, just like any good meal or any good idea, you have a foundation or base of things that, even if it's slightly off, you don't need to tweak it because you have some good fundamentals there.
Sure.
So the mistakes, if there's a mistake, or if you just want to fine tune it just a bit, it's, what I'm saying, everything's already there.
So my
some people,
fundamental, I think, that I would put down
what is that?
Would be inclusion.
Okay.
I think that would be the overriding factor. I think you have to have the idea of to be an inclusive society.
And educate us. What's your interpretation of inclusion? Because I don't think a lot of people understand. They can go look it up, and I say this because in a lot of work settings, people say the word inclusion. It's like the hot word.
It's a hot word.
It's a hot word in
hot
HR and human capital, anything else they want to make up when they're hiring people. But it's something I don't think they're mindful of in society in general. I'm not talking about in the workplace, but just in general, the inclusion. So what do you mean by inclusion?
I think that inclusion means that we are able to have an intelligent debate on ideas from different things, and through that debate and discussion, we create something that is part of both sides, and make something better, right? So that inclusion is taking two separate parts from something and seeing what things are not good, what things are good, and combining them to create something better, right? That's what I think about inclusion, that making pieces fit together to make something even better, more than just the two separate parts that were originally proposed. Inclusion means being open to different ideas, different cultures, just different things. Just being open to that.
Well, I think, can I add, can I sprinkle a little bit more seasoning to perfect your dish?
Sure.
They do all that, but they act in integrity. And I say that because it's one thing to be open-minded, but take it a step further. Now you're going to put it into action with the intent on taking the ideals and melding it together. So if it means including other genders and races, because I'm open-minded about hiring more Chinese, but I'm just open-minded. Don't mean I'm going to do it. So that's why I meant acting with the intentions to really wanting to improve that.
So here's my thing. When you have a company, let's say you have a company, and we'll do it in couch it in terms of employment.
Okay.
Right. And as you say, like, you want to improve your company, and what we're going to do is we're going to hire this set of people, Chinese people, to improve your company. And that's what we're going to go for.
Mm-hmm.
You hire a certain set of them. You go, okay, that's improved my company in this fashion. Fantastic. Now you go, okay, I want to improve my company even more. Where do you go from there? Do you just stop at just the one set? Do you just stop at just Chinese people?
No.
Or do you go further inclusive? I want to include Italians. I want to include Japanese, Koreans, Ethiopians, South Africans, Argentinians, Brazilians, Spanish, and you want to be able to get a full range, because now you have all these people with all these different skill sets that understand different languages and cultures, right? And they can be ambassadors to all those different sects of community and improve your business, right? And make that business even better.
Sounds good, ideally.
Sounds great, ideally, right?
I'm open-minded to it.
Sure. Isn't that America?
Should be.
And that's where I put that. That idea of you include people to be able to reach out. The idea of the melting pot for me is to be able to be inclusive, to take aspects, these certain sects of people, to be able to bridge those gaps that you have within community and create a singular society that has elements of all of these things, right?
So, okay, I get it now. So it's like I'm still using your example.
Either companies or food, one or the other. All that's going to happen is we're just going to get hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because you don't get me wrong, I like business, and that's why I'm corporate.
Money and food, baby.
Money and food. But as you were talking, and I kept thinking food.
God damn it, I want blueberries.
And when you said you're mixing it together,
right?
and then every time you mix something in, you do have to adjust.
Absolutely.
And because you have to adjust, you also have to be mindful. Well, one, you have to be open-minded because you already have a bunch of ingredients in there, or
yes.
a bunch of people. I'm saying people are like ingredients.
There you go.
So now that you have all these flavors, and to find how those flavors mix together, you do have to figure out, okay, sometimes I have to have a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, but you have to be open-minded to doing it, and you have to have it with the intent. But see, this is where one has to be careful on not letting their biases get in the way. I let's just say I'm making this I'm creating this company or a dish, right? Let's just say I happen to like Chinese people more. If it's just like a dish, let's just say the dish, right? Because then if I start using people are like, oh, I don't believe you, right? You said that.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Let's just couch this in.
You don't like pizza
one
Mexican? No.
Let's couch this in one thing or another, right?
Okay, so
I'm not taking anything away from anything else.
Than ribs.
But everybody seems to freaking love Chinese food. So let's just keep it there.
Ah, there you go. What do you think?
Everybody loves it.
No, they were cooking barbecue this last fucking weekend.
Hey,
How about
man.
that? Take that.
Barbecue pork buns. See?
But
every time I go there, everyone's like, "Oh man."
But it's not.
I want some barbecue pork buns.
But it's not
being Chinese. I'm like, "Oh, god damn it."
Anyways, but the point was, I was saying how biases can easily get into there.
Sure.
Because some people might like one flavor more than the other. Maybe for whatever reason, like say if it's like I'm cooking a dish and I'm adding, let's just say onions or garlic, right? Oh well, it gets to a point. I mean, for whatever reason, maybe I'm saying, oh, garlic's better for you. It's more healthy. I mean, people can think the same way when they're hiring certain ethnicities or certain genders in their company, based off of, hey, I have this one hardworking person, so I'm gonna hire more just like them.
Sure.
Or whatever the bias is, or if it's a bias, right? Because, and that's where I think it gets a little iffy if Especially if you're making a dish, you already know. If it's too much garlic, unless you're a garlic person, you're gonna be off put by it.
So that's my thing, is that like everyone likes to say that there are aspects that are culturally specific to certain races and stuff. I think to some degree there is, to some degree, but you can always find an aspect of those other races within this yet other race. Chinese, like, what would you think of when you think of Mexican people or...
Ooh, it's getting racist. No.
It is. Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Why not?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, like, what do you think of when people talk about Mexican people?
What do you mean? What do I think?
Okay, let's take it in a different.
Yeah.
Let's try this around in a different way.
All right.
Trump has said, Trumpy boy has said
all right.
that Mexicans are murderers and rapists, right? Okay. Are they?
I would say no. They're like
they have that aspect in them. Are there Mexican rapists and criminals?
Are there white racists and criminals? Are there black racists and criminals?
So that aspect isn't just Mexican.
No.
You can find that aspect within any race.
Exactly.
Are there rapists and murderers and criminals in Chinese society?
Oh yeah.
Yes, there are.
Probably
they're
more.
Everywhere. That's only because there's more of us.
Exactly. That's all like. Now you get it.
God damn it. That's just a numbers game.
Numbers game.
It's a numbers game, damn it. So no, but like those aspects, those specific aspects, you're not gonna always just find, lazy Mexicans or lazy Irish people or lazy whatever. You're gonna find lazy people.
Period.
Because they're fucking lazy. It doesn't matter what race they are. They're just fucking lazy. You're going to find racist people within every sector of society. You're just going to find those people. What you want to find are the good aspects in those societies and bring them on board as best as you can. And nourish that as much as possible so you can be able to reach out to the broader spectrum of society. Because I think this is the part that I think that people can really, truly debate me on in this fashion. In that I think overall people in general are good. Overall, people try to do the right thing. They do bad things. I've done bad things. I've made mistakes. I've done all kinds of weird stuff. But overall, I want to be able to push forward and do the right thing. And I think a lot of people want to do that. And given the opportunity, given the advancement and taking away some of the bad circumstances in their lives, given the choice, I think the majority of people will do the right thing.
I think I agree with you in that I would add, I think majority of people would do the right thing if there are more people either educating, influencing, or making them aware of what the right thing is, or where, how to do it, or to just practice it. Because a lot of people, like anything, right? You sometimes you not lose, but you're not consistent doing the right thing all the time.
Right.
And being or seeing or being influenced by folks or enough people in society doing that, you know what I'm saying? It resonates with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean by taking away those bad influences or bad, poor circumstances in people's lives. Given a true choice, or given a real decision, and not implying certain levels of circumstances, people, I think, in general will do quote unquote the right thing, the moral thing. You can debate as to what those morals specifically are, based upon a variety of different factors, but they will try and do the best that they can for themselves and those around them, for the most part. Now, that's where the open-mindedness has to come in, right? You have to be able to understand where these people are coming from and understand that you have to give them the opportunity to do the right thing and to maybe either make allowances or other such.
You said make allowances?
Make certain allowances, I think, for differences of differences. But you also want to be able to bring them around to society and the society that you're trying to build as well. Which is something that I think America has to do. If you want to build that society of inclusion, of being able to say, we accept you for who you are and we want to see the best aspects of your culture, please bring those, right? And we will mix it into what we call America, then that becomes another aspect of America. And it starts to reinvent itself. So America, I think, is a society that by doing such, by having that inclusion, by pushing for that ideal of inclusion, is a society that would build toward revision to the betterment of that society each and every time, each and every aspect that gets added to the greater whole.
You know what? As we conclude this segment, what was interesting, you brought this up, and we've had conversations off air about what I'm about to say. Is everything you're talking about is one of the main influences of why I'm starting a nonprofit. And I told you I called it Black Love Reform, but it's not because of Black culture in society. It's because there's this dark viewpoint of, it's like a really selfish viewpoint. I mean, it's just like it's what us Americans do, right? And I'm saying it's generally where we think our country is better than everyone in the world, right? I mean, that.
I love that thought, but
but that's true, right? That's the generalization.
That's perception. That's a lot of people's perception. Yeah, I don't believe it, but hey.
Yeah, no, I only say that because everything we're talking about, when you're talking about open-mindedness, you have to stop. You have to be selfless. You have to stop being as selfish. So
absolutely,
and because not being selfish, being open-minded, having good intentions to better everyone around you, because that's not only going to better the environment, in the world, but it'll also empower and better yourself, right? Because you're around people like you, and guess what? It starts going back and forth where everyone's improving each other because everyone's being open-minded, everyone's trying to understand each other, and as they're doing that, they're giving each other good feedback. I'm talking about fact-based feedback that helps them understand how to communicate better. And that's why I found myself wanting to create this nonprofit. And I wasn't trying to sell it, but I felt the need to talk about it because, one, it is a platform, but two, it's everything we're talking about.
Absolutely.
It's more about what we're talking about being what the idea of America is, the land of opportunity. That being able to dream, being able to do good things. That's what I'm starting with this nonprofit, and I think it definitely has a lot of not only what it is to be an American, but it also has the influence of what it is to be a good person, which I think is universal for everyone. I don't care what culture or gender. If we all aspire to be a good person, right? We're not all perfect. Then not only imagine the things we can do to improve society, but how much everyone will actually feel and interact better. And I don't know about you, when you're around people who are happy, it tends to make the environment much more fun.
Absolutely. That is definitely the way that I think we all want to go, and I think that's the ideal that I think to some degree people don't really think about
and they close themselves off.
Because everyone likes staying in the bubble, Sammy.
You got to pop that bubble every now and again.
And you know what? And that's why these conversations are important.
Absolutely.
Because then the more we start asking people, do they need to pop bubbles? The more. Oh, that's. Oh, I'm only taking it there.
Right? No, hey, just pop the bubble, baby.
I'm popping all these version. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going
baby
down
bubbles.
dark
Keep
trails.
going. Keep
but anyways,
going.
the point is,
dig a little deeper.
Yeah. The more I'm making people. Oh, I'm so sorry, America.
Oh, yeah, baby.
But you know what? We all make mistakes.
And version 2.
And that's you're putting a smile on my face internally, because we're all talking about things on not only being aware, but how can we be better and more aware of who we are in society, how we should carry ourselves, and it's helping us have those conversations. What are our fundamentals, and what is our priority? What should we be talking about? I mean, are we wasting our time talking about, there's newspapers being littered in the streets, and there's no one with a broom to push them? It's important.
It is, and the people that do that are important as well.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of things are taken for granted, but like as we talk about these things, it is something that we want to aspire to, and the more that we aspire to be open and be inclusive and to push ourselves to be better, right? That pushes other people to be better, and it becomes that butterfly effect where just one feeds off the other, and as the small community grows to larger communities and has influence on larger communities, it grows to grander scales, and I think that's what America to me is that we're that idealistic view and that push towards inclusion within the world. We were not to be horrible about anything else. I think that there's a lot of problems with where we are first, but we need to be inclusive not only to those outside of the U.S., but also those that were here to begin with, and that is a massive thing that I think gets thrown under the covers a lot of times as well.
And that's true. You know what? I just learned. I know we're already at the end of the segment, but I ended up learning, and this because I was learning about myself, that those who were here, there's only a small amount of, can I say, Indian tribes,
Native Americans.
There's only a small portion of them that
indigenous people, I think,
that are recognized
as,
which is really interesting. It's like, wait a minute, you was here before me. We took your land, but we only recognize a couple of you guys.
Yeah, it's really messed up.
And now I came across that is because I ended up learning my family history is with Black, Irish, and Indian, and it's so happens to be that my Indian background was one of the tribes that were recognized. So I was like, oh, I'm special. Yeah.
But and they came together and made you, and I'm happy with that, and we feed off each other, and that's the thing that we do.
Yeah, I like Chinese food.
It tastes. I'm just saying, Chinese food's damn good. But I mean, in all aspects, we need to be able to recognize those that came before. We want to be able to recognize those aspects within ourselves, and realize where those things came from, but realize that with the inclusion of all these aspects, we create something new each and every time. We want to be able to recognize the past, and yet we are still marching forward with new versions and bettering ourselves the further we go.
I tell people the past does repeat itself, especially if you don't
look at it.
You don't look at it. I mean, you can learn from the past, learn from that knowledge, so you can improve to make your future
that much better.
That much better.
Yep.
All right, now.
So that's where our
That's
trail
where,
ends.
That's where our trail ends today.
Yep.
Look, you guys, I don't know where you're going to go, but safe travels.
Safe travels. Our journey ends here, but yours doesn't have to.
Well, I'm Corporate Gangster.
I'm Brucey.
See you guys next time on
Dark Trails. And there you have it.
I apologize.
That was a super semi-super serious discussion. We're getting into it.
Look, I was trying to make it light.
It's hard to make that topic light.